The race between Republican Texas Senator Ted Cruz and Democratic Congressman Collin Allred is very tight.
A poll from Emerson College and The Hill finds the two are separated by just 4 percentage points, with Cruz ahead 49 to 45%. The poll also finds half of voters have an unfavorable view of Cruz, while 48% have a favorable view of him. Meanwhile, 44% find Allred view him favorably, with 40% having an unfavorable view of him. However, 15% say they have never heard of the Democratic candidate.
And turning now to the race for the White House, Donald Trump still has an advantage over Kamala Harris here in Texas. The poll from Emerson College and The Hill, as we mentioned, finds Trump leading Harris 51 to 46%. Trump had the same 5-point margin when he beat Joe Biden in the state back in 2020. Joining us this afternoon to dive more into those numbers is Matt Taglia. He's the Senate Senior Director of Emerson College Polling. Matt, thank you so much for being here. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, we are less than 4 weeks, hard to believe, from early voting beginning here in Texas. So I want to focus really quickly on how voters feel about this presidential race. Did this latest poll show much change in support here for Donald Trump and Kamala Harris?
Yeah, so, it's been a while since we've had a look at Texas, but we do find now, Trump still commands a majority of the electorate. And we see Harris is doing significantly better compared to, say, Joe Biden in some of these other states with 46%. So it's only a 5-point race. I think it's certainly within the realm of being competitive.
We know your polling sample in Texas included 950 likely voters. So talk to us about how you define someone as a likely voter and why focus on them rather than registered voters in this poll.
Right. So, up until about Labor Day or so, we do take a look at registered voters just because folks are still sort of figuring out whether they're going to vote, how they're going to vote. But once we hit that sort of Labor Day mark, roughly, most of the electorate has decided, whether they're going to vote, not necessarily who they're going to vote for, but they've mostly made up their minds. So we focus on them just because we're getting closer. And we define these as the registered voters who say they are very likely to show up on November 5th.
Yeah, very interesting to hear more about that methodology. Now, the split in that U.S. Senate contest here in Texas falls within almost the poll's margin of error, so it is very close. Does it appear that, as you're looking at these numbers, that there's room for one of these candidates to gain a little more ground and make this race less close?
That's right. And just a slight correction, it does fall within the margin of error. So
Okay.
Cruz 49, Allred 45. The poll's margin of error being about 3%, but that's on either side of each candidate. So, I think that there is certainly room. Cruz is a known commodity in Texas, obviously, whereas 15% say they aren't too familiar with Collin Allred. So there is some room there for Allred to, grow his name ID, grow his favorability, and perhaps catch up to Cruz. But independents are already breaking for Allred with 52%. I think there's probably some room for Cruz there, especially those independents who say that they're going to support Trump, but either haven't made a decision or are maybe leaning towards Allred. So I see little chance of, one candidate or the other breaking away here. I think if anything, it's only going to narrow further.
Now, your poll also looked at the top issues for Texans and voters in Texas right now. What did they say?
So they said that immigration is their top issue, about a third of the electorate. Now, that's not to say that these other issues aren't important to voters, but that's a pretty sizable number. It was overwhelmingly true for Republicans. 53% or so say that immigration is their top issue. A little bit less so for independents with 24%. And then the economy is overall a major issue for everyone, 27%, and that's across party lines that it is a major issue. And then looking at Democrats a little bit, we see, we asked another question about abortion in Texas. 53% say that abortion laws in Texas are too strict. That's, a majority there. And, that was especially true of Democrats, 81%. It's true of independents, 61%. And even a quarter of Republicans say that immigration laws, or abortion laws in Texas are too strict. So all of these issues are going to be, on the top of voters' minds when they head to the polls. And I think these sort of top three, they get some of the most major press coverage, and that is clearly demonstrated with the electorate here.
Yeah, very fascinating look, and we appreciate you, Matt Taglia, for joining us and talking about these numbers. We can obviously read a little bit more about that on our website, KXAN.com. But Matt, we appreciate it, and we'll see you soon.
Thank you.
All right, everybody, we will be back after this short break.